My guest on Superliminal today is the incredible Pete Stone from the Sovereign Project, who founded it at the start of the COVID nonsense a few years ago. And it's a fascinating conversation, and the ethos of the Sovereign Project is, their motto is, together we'll create a future of peace and abundance for all, forever free from tyranny. And the Sovereign Project's mission is, it's an institution that protects and reclaims the rights and freedom of each individual by providing powerful tools and education while uniting others who also choose to be free. Now, I've done some work with Pete and the Sovereign Project, and it's incredible when you begin to understand just how illiterate every single one of us is. And I don't mean that we can't read and write words on a page, but our understanding, our understanding of what words actually mean from a lawful perspective, even the fundamental difference between what's legal and what's lawful, and how tax is a scam, road tax is a scam, registering our cars is a scam, we don't own our properties. So this whole thing with Klaus Schwab and his lunatics at the World Economic Forum saying you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Well, it's actually been that case for a very, very, very long time. And also, it's fascinating to know that everything is a corporation, even us. Our birth certificate creates us as a stock that then gets traded. I mean, honestly, it's such an amazing conversation. There'll be links in the show notes somewhere to the Sovereign Project. If you're in the UK especially, but they're now international, I highly recommend getting involved and beginning to educate yourself about what it means to be sovereign, because with the advent of digital currency in particular, and how that will literally destroy what remaining freedom as such we actually have, it's beholden upon every single one of us who value our own personal authority to know what that means and to know what the implications are. As always, if you can share this video, there'll be a pinned comment which will have the link on it with one other person or a couple of other people you know who might enjoy this. I would really appreciate it, because it gets the algorithm sharing the broadcast with other people just like yourself who'd really benefit from hearing the information. And as always, if you can like, subscribe and comment, it really helps the algorithm too, and I'd be most grateful. But for now, thanks ever so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in a second. So hello and welcome to Superliminal Podcast. And as you'll have heard from the intro video that I did, I'm super excited, as I always am with my amazing guests, to have the wonderful Pete Stone on from the Sovereign Project. So I've explained a little bit about that in the intro video. So let's dive straight in. Pete, thanks ever so much for coming on to Superliminal Podcast. Real honor to have you.
Thank you very much. No problem. Nice to be here.
Yeah. So we live in a crazy world at the moment. I mean, anybody who hasn't noticed the craziness that's going on in this world must be living in a cave somewhere. But I think not even caves are immune from what's going on in this world right now. One thing I'd love to get into is, I think a lot of people don't really understand what it means to be sovereign and what sovereign is. And, you know, I've been following the work that the Sovereign Project has been doing for about 4 years, done the online 20-something week course with you, which was amazing, and found and done some of my own remedies with some smaller scale stuff that have actually been successful.
Okay.
But I know also that there's a lot of pushback from the police. They're doing things that are, I don't know if it's illegal or unlawful. I'm sure you'll explain that to us, even when people are following the process. But before we get into that, I know some of my audience won't have come across you, but will be very familiar with the concept of being a sovereign human. So I'd love to know what the origin of your story and how you ended up creating the Sovereign Project.
Sure, yeah, no problem at all. Well, I set the Sovereign Project up in 2020 with all the lockdown nonsense. And basically what it was about is I saw a lot of people panicking especially when they got into mandates for a certain medical procedure and they thought they had to do the medical procedure. And I was going, no. That's not how a mandate works. You know, you've got to understand you're actually operating in a system of commerce, and this is contracts, and a mandate only applies to you if you agree via a contract. So you've got to agree before the mandate is applied to you. So that's when I set it up. But I've been researching this for about 30 years now. Yeah.
Wow.
So it all began back in, I think it was 1992, when I got my first computer and I got onto the internet for the very first time. And the internet back then was not the way it is today. So very, very simplistic websites out there. There was no video, no real audio, and the pictures took about 5 minutes to download with your 56K dial-up, you know.
I remember those days.
Yep.
So much time was wasted waiting for one image.
Yeah, it was. I know, yeah. You just sit there, you just get one line at a time, and eventually you get a picture.
Yeah.
So, but there was some good stuff on there. There was some different websites. Now, I started using the internet because what I was trying to do is back then and today, I always dealt with my own paperwork. So if I had an issue, say at work or with a company, I would start using my own paperwork and I'd say, look, you've got to sort this out. And I just used the internet to basically try and get my paperwork stronger. And back then, I considered the legal system law because, you know, I was only a young lad and I didn't really know any different. And I thought, okay, it must be the law. But then as I started to learn the legal system and actually discovered what legal truly meant, and by the way, legal means contract, this is when I started realizing, hang on a minute, something's very, very wrong here. So I started questioning things. I started questioning things like, in fact, I began to question things before I even got online. It was when I received my national insurance number. So I was 15. And I got this plastic card through the post, and it had national insurance number. I says, what's this? I don't remember applying for this. I didn't send off anything. And of course, mum and dad, who were both brainwashed, unfortunately, and in the system went, oh, yeah, it's for paying your insurance for the national health. So obviously, if you're sick, the national health will sort you out for free. That's not what it is. But that got me thinking, and that got me questioning things like speed limits and driver's licenses and all these things. It's like on tax as well. How come I was, I started working when I was 16 and I got my wage packet through, and there was this deduction and tax. Oh, what's this about? I don't remember allowing this to happen and agreeing to all this. So I just started asking questions. And this happened over many years. And I started to learn the legal system, and it was a system of commerce. And I started to learn about the financial system and how monetary notes work, like promissory notes, bonds, guilds, fiat currency, all this. And I just started really learning what was going on and discovered that the fiat currency system was a Ponzi scheme. It's a debt-based, at-interest monetary system, which will never, ever last. Fast forward quite a few years, and I discovered what was really going on. And I knew that there was a corporation running the entire planet, and we were all operating in a system of commerce. So I tried to wake people up. I said, look, there's a reset coming in 2020. They're going to do some lockdown stuff. This is back in 2015. And I started trying to warn people. I did go political for a very short time. I joined a political party so I could get a platform. I started warning people about the fiat system, started warning people about tax. I tried to expose the council tax scam, because that's one of the biggest scams on the planet. I was trying to warn people about that. I tried doing that. Yeah, I woke a few people up, but it didn't work out the way I was. So anyway, fast forward to today, we have the Sovereign Project now, which is really reaching out to those who question how the system operates. What we're willing to do is to help people on their journey of self-discovery and to become sovereign. So you go, what does that mean? What does it mean to be sovereign? Well, it means that you have the ability to run your own life. Completely. You have the ability to make your own decisions in your life. And there's another few things that the average person doesn't know, is you actually have the ability to make your own law within your jurisdiction. In fact, you'll have a dominion. So you'll actually operate within your dominion, and you shall be free within your dominion. This is what the word freedom means. People are using words today and they don't know the meaning behind the words at all. So, for example, freedom. I'll just explain to you what freedom means. Everyone's using freedom. And I go, okay, you want to be free? And they go, yeah. And I say, have you just voted for a political party? Yeah. Well, you're not free then, and you never will be, because you do not have your own free dominion. So people don't understand what freedom means. They don't even know what liberty means. They don't know what register means. So a lot of people are trapped. They don't realize it. But what happens is when you register something, you're handing over ownership to someone else. They have control over it. They have the controlling interest of it. And it also means you have no rights at that point. So if you register something, you give it away. So, for example, if you register your child, you've given it away. If you register your house, giving it away. Register your business and so forth. Register your car and so forth. So you've given it away. The way this system works is it preys on the slave mentality. So if you think like a slave, then you will be treated as such. So, for example, I will explain to people how the system operates, and I'll then explain to them how certain remedies work. So, for example, the car, and I'll say the reason why that 20-mile-an-hour speed limit applies to you and the ULEZ applies to you, which is ultra low emission zone, because you contracted, because the car you drive is not yours. You gave it away. And now you are operating in a corporate jurisdiction, and it's all contractual. So the answer is to deregister your car, take your car back, so it's no longer operating in that jurisdiction. And therefore, none of this ULEZ and 20-mile-an-hour speed limits apply to you. And then they'll turn around to me and they'll say, oh, are we allowed to do that? Well, first of all, there's no we. So don't include me in your nightmare. So no we. But if you're asking, are you allowed to do it? That's the slave mentality. You've already lost. Because if you say, oh, are we allowed to do that? Well, you're acting like a sheep. You're acting like a slave. And there's nothing you can do at that point. Your paperwork will not save you because you've got the wrong mindset. Now, the sovereign will absolutely go, yeah, of course I could deregister my car. I could take my car back at any time I want. It's mine. I'll give you another example of this slave mentality and why people they're almost self-harming at this point. They're doing it to themselves. You know, we can get into the farmer stuff later if you wish. But I'll give you an example. I will ask somebody, do you own your own house? And they'll go, yeah, I paid the mortgage off years ago. I own it. It's all mine. I own it outright. Yeah, it's all mine. Yeah, fantastic. Oh, okay, fantastic. Okay. And I'll say, I noticed you got an extension. Did you get planning permission for that? And they go, oh, yeah, I got planning permission for that. And I go, I'm dealing with a moron because they've just told me in one sentence that they do own the property and they don't own the property. So which is it? Because if you do own the property, then you're not going to be asking permission to build on your own property. And that's part of the problem. So most people are acting like slaves. They're voting, they're registering, they have no name. They're using a government name that was issued to them, and we can get into that later if you wish. They're filling out forms, which is contracting. So you're contracting all day long. And this is why the people who run government treat you the way they do, because you're acting like a slave. You're acting like a child. So if you're going to act that way, they will treat you that way. So if you want out of this nightmare, the very first thing you've got to do is stand on your own 2 feet and say, enough's enough. I am quite capable of running my own life, 100%, everything. I don't need a health service. Thank you very much. I'll take care of my own health. I don't need a politician to tell me how to spend my own money. Thank you very much. I'm not involved in any community economy out there. So get out of my life, Mr. Politician. If I want to buy something in China, that's up to me. And don't you dare put tariffs on my private business. So all of this, people are acting like sheep, they're acting like slaves, and they are being treated as such. And they are finding out that they are living a horrible, miserable life. You've got to stand your own ground. So hopefully that's explained to you roughly what sovereignty is all about.
Wow, that is so powerful, Pete, because one of the things that I hear so often, and it's a misconception I had when I started waking up to all this a few years ago, is that people think that there's a common law court somewhere, like nestled away, maybe down in where all the legal places are, down the back of Temple Bar in London or somewhere. But of course, there is no such thing as a common law court. So perhaps you could begin by expanding on what the heck that is and why people have got that wrong.
Yes. good point. So a lot of people, again, they began to wake up in 2020, obviously with all the lockdowns, and they started going, what's going on? So they look for a way out. And one of the traps that they did was fall into this common law stuff and under common law. Well, it's all in the language. The very first thing you've got to notice, in fact, in this entire game, it is a game, this entire game of commerce that you find yourself in, you've got to learn what the words mean, because the words are telling you what's going on, and it's very, very important. So the very first thing, it says common law. Okay, we've got the word common, not universal. So that means it applies to some people, but it doesn't apply to everybody because it's common. So common does not mean it applies to everybody. So if you dig a little bit deeper and you go, what does common law mean? Where did it originate? Well, to cut a long story short, what it actually means is that there's two, if you like, two types of people. You've got the people at the very top who are sovereign, they can control everything and they make their own law. Then you've got the people below. They are the commoners. They are the people of lower stock. They are the people with no name, no house. And we can get into why having a house is so important and having your own name. So I'll just make a note there. So what will happen is that the people at the top will control this, and they will control slave-minded people, and they will say that you are operating under a common law system, which only applies to commoners or plebeians, because it comes from ancient Rome originally. So I think it was the patricians and the plebeians. So the plebeians were without house, they were not noble, they had no name, and they were common stock. So common law is a contractual jurisdiction. This is where the term civilian comes from. Civil means contract. So being a civilian, you're under the rule of civil procedure codes, and you're also under the common law jurisdiction. Now, if you look into the UK legal system, and the UK is a corporation, got nothing to do with the land, it's a corporation, you will see mention of England. And again, England is also a corporation, nothing to do with the land. And within those pages of acts and statutes, which go back a few hundred years, you will see reference to common law. Well, this is the commoners. This is the people with no name. So if you've got no name, you are incapable of setting up your own estate. So if you don't have an estate, you have no dominion. If you have no dominion, you can't hold your own court. Now, this is the thing, is that every man and woman, a sovereign man and woman, has the ability and the power to hold their own court with their own law. And we can get into that if we've got time. So because you're a commoner and you are without house, you are now under the rule within the UK. You are now under the rule of someone else's house, and it's called the House of Commons. So the House of Commons, which has a coat of arms, is now controlling those who consider themselves commoners or people of common stock, if you like, or those who just simply quote, I'm operating under common law. Because if you go into a courtroom and you say, Your Honor, I'm operating under common law, you've just told that judge that you are a man or woman without a name, without a house, without the ability to hold your own court. You cannot make law. You are a person of lower stock, of common stock, and you are under the rules and regulations of the House of Commons. So you better do as you're told. And if you don't, you're going to go to prison. So you're absolutely right. There's no such thing as a common law court. There's no such thing as common law. There's only traps within the legal system. And if you use the word common law, you've lost the game. So stop using it, please, everybody.
Yeah. And that's such a powerful thing to explain, because again, I went round in circles with this for months and months a few years ago when I was beginning to start looking into what it means to be truly sovereign. So one of the things you mentioned there, Pete, which I would love to explore further, is why having a house and your own name is so important. So tell us a bit more about that and what it means.
Yes. Now, the word house, it comes from a Proto-Germanic word, and I think it's pronounced Husan. Now, it doesn't mean house today, because the word house, a lot of people think it's bricks and mortar. It isn't. We've got to explain the difference between a house and a home. And by the way, we still use language today because we understand that a woman makes the home. You know, you probably heard the saying, oh, it needs a woman's touch, you know, when you look around a house. So let's get into house and let's get into home. And we've got to understand what is going on. So basically the old German word Hasan, which basically means house, refers to a man's dominion. So a man has dominion over his life, and he is the one who makes the law in that dominion. And this is very powerful. Every male watching this today, you've got to learn this. You've got to stand on your own 2 feet. To be able to stand on your own 2 feet, you are going to say, I am responsible for my life. I make the decisions. I make the law. Now, when you can do that and you become a sovereign man, what you are also doing is you are offering protection to women. Because what you're going to, as a man, you'll probably want to have a wife and have children. So if you want a wife, then you have to provide and protect for the wife, because obviously she's going to be busy giving birth to all your children. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. It's completely natural. This is a natural system that has evolved over thousands of years. Now, this ties into, let's get into the language a bit, because people don't understand what's going on here.
Yeah.
You've probably heard of the word husband. Now, when a woman says she's going to look for a husband, it doesn't mean the guy is married to her. In fact, you become the husband before you get married, because a husband comes from husbandry. And a husband is a single man who has resources and has the ability to solve problems. This is what a man is supposed to do. So he can solve problems. He has resources, so he'll have his house, an actual physical building. He'll have pigs and goats, and he'll have fields, and he can provide. And he'll say, I have the ability to solve any problem that comes upon me, okay? Because I make the law. So that's a husband. It comes from husbandry. Now, the fair maiden, so again, these are terminology that people don't understand. A fair maiden means unmarried woman who's reached the age of consent. So she's reached the age and she can now get married and have children. So fair maiden means she's fair to be married. Now, the word wife actually means woman with child, not marriage. So all the words have been jumbled up. So when I mentioned earlier that a man is responsible to protect women and children, he is responsible to protect his woman and his children. And his woman would become his wife. So he has authority and protection of his wife and his children. And he does this through his house. Now, his house is his family name. So he gets his family name from his father and grandfather before him. So he gets the family name. That is what people call the last name, but it is not a last name. A last name is commerce. It is a family name. Last name, surname, and family name are all different things. They are not the same thing. This is where people go badly wrong. Family name. So you're given the last name, family name. Now, you're supposed to make a name for yourself as a young man, and that means you have given names. So you have a first name, but you don't call it a first name. It's a given name. It's a given name by your mother and father. And you are now combining your given name with your family name, and you're going to make a name for yourself. This means that you'll have your own coat of arms, family crest, and you will apply your seal to all your paperwork. And you will also have a court seal. So if you have a dispute with someone, another sovereign man, then you'll use your court seal on your paperwork and summon him to your court. This is all being forgotten. I mean, the average person is being summoned to court regarding a speeding ticket, and they don't even ask the question, whose court is it? A court is supposed to be backed up by a name of a man or woman who summoned you to their court. And what does it say? Magistrate's court. You go, what magistrate? This is why people act like slaves, and they don't even see it. So anyway, so the man has his house. Now, what his house is it's his name, his coat of arms, his seal, and he puts it on everything. So if he puts his coat of arms on a building, that becomes his building. It becomes his castle, which means he's telling every other man, I have the right to defend myself. That's my castle. Leave me alone. This is where castle doctrine comes into play. The average man does not own their own house. You've got a house number. You're using a postcode. That means it's not yours. You don't have the right to protect it. You haven't put your name on your house yet. So you put your name on your house. Your wife lives there and your children live there. And you protect your wife and child using, it is violence. Because what you do is, because you put your seal on your house and that's your symbol to all other men, you're warning them. And you have your own flag as well. So you put your flag there as well. And you're warning every man, that's my flag. If you trespass upon me, I will end you. And then all the other men will go, not a problem, not a problem. People were much more polite a few hundred years ago. If you see the old Wild West, the men were very polite to women, and they would tip the hat and they would walk them across the street and good day to you, ma'am. The reason being is you don't want to cross the sovereign whose wife it is, because the sovereign's going to come looking for you. So, that's why people were much more polite. So anyway, you have the house as the man. You are the provider and the protector and the problem solver. That's your job. You get first title of your house because you've made the ultimate decision. You've said you will make the ultimate sacrifice and you will die protecting your wife and child. Every man knows this. They do it naturally. This is why, when the ship is sinking, it's women and children first. Every man knows that. Yeah, I'm going down with the ship. I'm a man. Okay, no problem. Glug, glug, glug. Yes, okay. As long as the women and children are safe and they're on the boat, I'm not a problem. It's not a problem. So we all know this instinctively. We know this. It's in here. Well, for us men anyway. Some of the soy boys out there, they ain't got a clue. The ones playing Xbox on their electric scooters and all the rest of it. And it's not in them.
And they're claiming to be women or whatever 8 million genders that there are going around.
Oh my God. Exactly right. So they're males, they're not men. Okay. So we go into, so that's the man. So the man provides and protects. So you go, okay, what does the woman do? Well, the woman has second title of the house. And she's got a very important role. And she creates the home. There's a difference, right? The home is the sanctuary, the peace. This is what the woman provides. So the children are happy and safe and fed. The man has a nice place to go. So when he's out there fighting wars and he comes back to his house, he's greeted by his wife and this is my sanctuary. This is my peace. This is my home. Now, here's the thing. A woman's home is sacred. You do not even blemish that. You do not even trespass upon that in any way, shape, or form. That is an ultimate sin. You do not do that. Now, because the average man has given up his right to dominion, and he's given up his right to have a name, and he's given up his right to protect his wife and child. In fact, he legally, and we can get into this, he legally cannot protect his wife and child today. You're not allowed. And why is that? Because he took on a state marriage. Whoopsie daisy. Now, if you have a state marriage, which again, some of this stuff is easy and you'll kick yourself. You really will. So the average person now, when they get married, what do? To get a marriage license. You've lost already. Because what does license mean? Asking permission.
Asking for permission, yeah.
That's what it means. So you're asking permission. You go, well, hang on a minute. If I'm a man, I've got my own house and my own name. Who the hell am I asking permission from? Because you don't ask permission. This is how it's supposed to work. If you meet a fair maiden and you think, okay, I'm going to marry this woman and she's going to be my wife and have kids and all the rest of it, then what you would do is you would talk to the father of the woman, and you'd talk to him and you would explain to him what your intentions were. And you would say, man to man, sovereign to sovereign, that your intentions were that you were going to ask his daughter to marry you. And he would either give you your blessing or not. And he would evaluate you. And he will say, well, what have you done? What have you done in your life? What are your achievements? And if you're a good man and say, well, yeah, I've actually got my own business. I've got my own house. I'm worth quite a lot of money. I do good in the world. I've achieved this, that, the other. And then the father will go, yes, you are a good suitor for my daughter, not a problem. But the ultimate decision, this is the thing. The ultimate decision is always rests on the woman. She has the ultimate say. So the way it works, everyone does this. I mean, this is what's so frustrating. Everyone does it today and they don't even know why they're doing it. So what happens when a man asks a woman to marry him? He gets down on one knee. And they go, why is he doing this? There's a reason he's doing this. Remember, he's the man. He has dominion of his house. Okay. He will dish out the justice with an axe if anyone should trespass upon his house. Now, he can't go up to a woman in that state and say, do you want to marry me? Because obviously that's imposing, isn't it? You've got this big man and he's got this, So instead, what he does is he gets down on one knee, he submits. And he puts himself in a vulnerable position, in a lower position than the woman, and looks up. The woman could stab him at that point. This is what he's doing. So he asks her. So that's the only person you ask permission from is the woman. If the woman says yes, then you can now stand up and stand by your woman and take your rightful place as first title of your house. That's the only person you should be asking is the woman. If the woman says yes, why the hell do you need a marriage license? So we'll go back to marriage license. When you figure this out, it's
fascinating. Yeah.
And it's obvious. I'll just throw one thing in. Why do you think women have white wedding dresses on their wedding day? Why white?
That's a great question. My partner and I were actually asking this exact question of each other about a week or two ago.
Well, it's supposed to be, or it's a meaning that the woman is pure. In other words, she's a virgin. That's what it means.
Ah.
So she's wearing all white. She's pure. So she's untouched by man or another man. Now, I know a lot of women, and I think their dresses should be a shade of grey, but they're on the third wedding, and they're in a white dress, and I think, someone's lying here.
Who knew?
So that's what it means. So all this stuff, we still use this stuff today, but people have forgotten. So anyway, we go back to marriage license. You're asking permission. And you're not even asking the woman at this point. What you're doing is you're filling out forms, and you're paying for this. And you're actually filling out forms with a corporation called the United Kingdom, or the UK Corporation. So you're asking, or by a form, you're filling out a form, you're making a payment, and you are asking to get married from a corporation, which is a dead entity, controlled by someone else behind the scenes. So someone out there, you don't know, who's operating within this corporate jurisdiction is now giving you permission to get married. Well, let me tell you, it's got nothing to do with marriage. That is not what is going on, okay? What is actually going on is a corporate merger, and it is called a state marriage. The terminology marriage is now being changed. It doesn't mean what you think it is. It's not a marriage between a man and a woman. It's a three-way corporate merger, which is your birth certificate, the woman's birth certificate, and the state. So the state has control of this brand new corporation that's being created. And what this means is it puts the man in the lowest title. He has no say. He has no rights, none at all. He has to do as he's told. And if he doesn't do as he's told, the police, which are policy enforcers, will enforce the contract that you have with the state, where you agree that you have no rights, and they will grab you out of your house that you do not own and you cannot protect, and they'll stick you in a cell called a prison. By the way, it's called a prison because you've violated policy. So that's why you have a police officer. But it's worse than that. Now, I know we're having a little bit of a laugh and a joke and all the rest. It is hilarious when you figure this out and you go, oh, my God. Some of it's so obvious, right? But there is a darker line to it. And this is where men have got to step up. This is what the Sovereign Project's all about. Men, you have got to step up now.
Yeah.
The reason being is this is where it's so dangerous, because you do not have, as a man, you have no house, no name, no law, and you've given up all your rights and you hold the lowest title there is. The woman is above you. This means the state is above you. The state can take your children. They're not yours. You gave them up. You registered them. So this is when social services steps in, and it's contractual. This is a system of commerce. You filled out the forms. You paid for a marriage license. You filled the forms out. And by the way, if you have a state marriage, then you are now eligible to be drafted into war, for those of you who are in other countries, because you married the state. So now they can draft you. A draft is contractual. You cannot be forced to fight in any war. That's why it's called a draft. The reason it's called a draft because they're drafting up the paperwork that you agree to in the contract by registering and using the license in the first place. It's a draft. Again, you were enlisted. What does enlisted mean? Yeah, you put your name on a list. It's commerce. So the language is all there. So you can't be forced to fight in a war. So going back to the children. because you agree to this, because you've got a state marriage and you are married to the state, you've given up all your rights, you are worthless. You are also a commoner of lower stock, especially if you're saying I'm under common law. That means House of Commons has control over you. So the social services can come in and take your kids. There's nothing you can do about it. And if you try and fight and you try and save your own children, the police will arrest you because you're violating policy. You're violating a contract that you agreed to. Okay. And it's even worse than that because you can't even protect your woman at this point. So let's say, for example, someone breaks into your house at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then you beat the crap out of him, whoever it was, bleeding, and kill him, and the police turn up. Who gets arrested? You. You have no right to do that. You get arrested, and it's happening all the time. You see, people can see the symptoms of the system. They can see it, but they don't understand why it's happening. It's like if any men who are watching this have gone through divorce court, you get absolutely annihilated. The woman gets everything. Yeah, the woman's got second title. The state has first title. The woman has second title. You are lowest of the low, and you just better shut up. And you've got to pay out because it's all commerce. This is how they're doing it. It's all commerce. So men have got to stand up. So they've got to create their own house. They've got to create a name for themselves. They've got to create coat of arms, flag, seal, all this sort of stuff. You've got to take control of your own paperwork, and we can get into that. Stop using forms. By the way, if you fill in a form, it makes you the informant. That's what it means, informant. You filled in the form, therefore you've dressed yourself up. It's like self-assessment. Let's touch on this. I'm telling you, when you learn the system, the people who set up the system, they've got an evil sense of humor.
Yeah.
It's evil sense of humor because they tell you everything and they hope that you don't even spot. So self-assessment, self-employed. You can't be self-employed. Self-employed, how does that work? So I'm the boss and I'm the employee at the same time. So do I sack myself? So they're messing with you. So they call it self-employed. So that's a dead giveaway. And then it's called self-assessment. Well, you're grassing yourself up. So what you're doing, you're filling in the tax forms, you've become the informant, and then you said to the government, yeah, here's some tax money. And then you go, okay. The government says, thanks for the tax money. You did it to yourself. And it's only your mindset because you're a slave. You think you have to do it. See, if you think you have to fill the forms out, you're a slave. I can't save you at that point. I can't help you at that point. I cannot because you're doing it to yourself. We mentioned earlier, it's a form of, it's self-inflicted harm. If you keep jabbing yourself in the chest with an ice pick and say, oh, it hurts, you're doing it to yourself. Stop doing it. If you want to do these sort of things, then you do it. So I just want to touch on tax. By the way, all of it is contractual.
Yeah, because one thing I get asked a lot whenever I mention Sovereign Project, Pete, is for the UK specifically, but it might be the same in other countries, is of course council tax, which for anyone who's not in the UK is a tax that is placed on households right across the country, supposedly to pay for utilities like trash collection and so on and so on and so on. But that's not necessarily the case. So I'd love to, I know certainly the UK audience would love to know a bit more about that and what it is and what it means.
Yeah, absolutely. We can get it. I mean, if you've got anyone in America, they have a similar thing called property tax. And again, this is the mindset. If you own your property, how can you be paying tax on it? They see what I mean when people are doing it to themselves. They can't even think. They can't put two thoughts together and go, hang on a minute, something's wrong here. That's all right. If you want to act like that, if you want to be a child, if you want to have a mentality or an IQ of 5, fine. Well, the people who run the system will just treat you that way. Oh, by the way, they have a maxim of law. For he who allows himself to be deceived, let him. That is their maxim of law. So if you do the things you're doing to yourself, well, it's up to you then. The government's going, well, it's up to you. You filled in the forms. So we'll get into the tax. All tax does not matter what it is, including inheritance tax as well. So, you know, the farmers, we're trying to wait.
That's been a big thing with farmers all over Europe, and it's big in the UK at the moment. And I guess in the USA and elsewhere as well.
It is all over. It doesn't matter what country you operate in. And by the way, a country is not the land. A country is a corporate jurisdiction. So you can only operate in a country. You cannot live in a country. So if someone says to you, what country do you live in? I go, you what? That don't even make any sense. What do you mean live in a country? I can't, what? Here's a piece of paper and I'm supposed to get in that paper. I don't get it. I'm looking at these people going, you're insane. I can operate in a country. That's different because I can operate in a jurisdiction. So every single country is a corporate jurisdiction that you operate in if you take on a legal title, like American citizen, British citizen, Australian citizen. You take on that title, you now operate in that country jurisdiction. So all tax is contractual, all of it. Doesn't matter what it is, because people say, well, what about this tax? What about that tax? And I just said, all, okay, all tax. So we'll touch on the council tax. Now, the council tax is all in the language. One of the things you have to learn in this game is that the government only deals in commerce. What's commerce? Commerce is contracts between dead entities and legal fictions. Okay, so these are referred to as legal contracts. Legal just means contract. That's all it means. So whenever you hear that word, they are referring to a contract, legal. So the police officer, as we mentioned earlier, is a policy enforcer. He's enforcing the policy in a contract, and that's why he uses the word legal or illegal. So that's what it means. Legal means contract. So it's all commerce. So what happens is that you will enter into a contract. You won't know this. It'll be tricky, and you'll be pulled in, but it will be your own fault because you don't know how to read. The average person doesn't know how to read. So within system of commerce, you have to learn what the words mean, what is being said. Because I think everyone's used the word or heard the term legalese. Now, legalese is a language that has hidden meaning and it has hidden words that have come from a different dictionary. Because I think a lot of people are waking up to like Oxford English Dictionary and then Black's Law Dictionary. So people are at least realizing that words can have different meanings. Now, you've got notional legalese, which is utter gibberish. So if you see a contract that's notional, it's written in a way that you can't even understand it. And it means the author of the contract can make it up as he goes along. He has a notion. Oh, I have a feeling. I have a notion. This is what the contract means. For those of you who want to learn more, look into notional derivatives within the financial system and you'll see what I mean. Look, if you read a contract and it makes absolutely no sense to you, it's not because you're stupid. It's because it's written in a notional legalese. It's designed to be that way. But most people don't speak out. They don't want to say, this makes no sense, because they think they're going to look stupid. So they just stay quiet and go, okay, I'll sign it. No, speak out and say, look, this is gibberish. This is what I do. I said, this is utter gibberish. If I receive documentation from somebody I don't know and I don't like the look of it, I go, no, I don't understand that. Try again. And by the way, you owe me 500 quid. So council tax. One of the things you've got to understand with acts and statutes, all acts and statutes are corporate policy. That's it. They're not law. Not law in any way, shape or form. They're corporate policy and they only operate in the UK, in this case, in the United Kingdom, UK corporation. One of the things you've got to learn in this game, and this is an easy rule of the game, if the piece of paper that's being submitted to you does not have your name on it, then it doesn't apply to you. It's that simple. So when you get the acts and statutes regarding council tax, nowhere is your name mentioned. You can read all the pages of it and you will never see your name written anywhere in any act or statute. So you will know, a sovereign man would know straight away. You will go, well, that's got nothing to do with me. My name's not on it. My signature's not on it. It's a piece of paper. It's worthless. What's it got to do with me? So what these people do who run government, they will use legal titles and they'll trick you and they'll use certain terminology. Now, in council tax, they will refer to the word dwelling. It's in there. It's in black and white. It's written. And you should go, well, hang on a minute. What do you mean by dwelling? It's a very strange word. Why would they use the word dwelling? Well, a dwelling is where you live as a slave. And it means the dwelling or the building is owned by your master. So your master owns the dwelling and you live there because you are under bonded servitude. You are in debt to your master because you're not doing very well. Dwelling. You're not doing very well. That's where the word comes from. You're not doing very well. You're living in a dwelling. Wow. To reduce. because you're a slave living in your master's hut because you're in debt to him. So they use the word dwelling. And I don't live in a dwelling, so I go, what the hell's this? But then we'll use the word resident. And the words will go something like this. Every resident who living in a dwelling has to pay council tax. Words to that effect. And the average person won't even see that because they can't read. They've got the reading ability of a 5-year-old, and they won't pick up on that. I would. And I go, well, hang on a minute. What do you mean resident? What do you mean resident? I will know that is a legal title. Now, I won't challenge anything because this is another thing where people go wrong. They get into legal disputes, and you shouldn't be doing that. You should be playing the game of commerce, which is where you challenge paperwork. Completely different. So I look at the council tax documentation and I see some sort of bill that might turn up, which isn't a bill, by the way. It's not a bill in any way, shape or form. It's a complete artificial document, an article. It doesn't have any legal standing. It's not even a bill. The reason why the council can't even send you a bill, because they legally can't. They haven't got the right to send you one because they don't have the paperwork that backs it up. They bluff. They send you a piece of paper that looks like a bill. And if we have time, we can get into that. So they'll send you a piece of paper that the average person thinks is a bill. And the average person will just think, oh, I've got to pay it because they're slave-minded, remember? They're slave-minded. They think, oh, I've got to pay it. You can't get out of paying it. Well, okay, pay it then. Oh, by the way, I will never, ever help anybody get out of paying tax. I can't do that. Because if someone comes to me and says, how do I get out of paying tax? I can't help you. Because you've just told me that you are obligated to pay it and now you want to get out of it. And I can't get involved in that. That's a crime, mate. You're violating policy. I don't want to get in trouble.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So I can't get involved in that. So we do not do that. None of us at the Sovereign Project will ever help you get out of paying tax because we're breaking the law in contract law.
Yeah.
But if you come to me and you say, I've got some documentation that's coming through the post, I've got this sort of bill, don't think it is a bill, and it's from a corporation I've never heard of, like Derby Council. I said, I don't remember actually operating in commerce with them. I don't remember signing a contract. I don't remember putting in an order. I don't want to know why I've got this bill. Now, if that's the mindset you got, I can help. Because now we can fight the paperwork. Because what I would do is I say to them and say, this bill that you seem to be sending me, I need to see the contract. I need to see the offer and all the rest of it. And they'll come back and say, oh, no, residents have to pay. And I go, well, there seems to be a deficiency in your documentation because you have not signed the documentation that I signed where I agreed to be the resident. You've got 30 days to provide me with said documentation. And if you don't give it to me, I'll have no other choice but to sue you for applying a bill upon me where there's no contract that exists. And that's when they start backing off. So
Wow.
Do you see how the game's changed? The game has changed because you've got the sovereign mindset. As soon as you attain the sovereign mindset, you're not going, oh, how do I get out of it? You're not like this cowering little mouse or sheep going, oh, I want to get out of it. No, the sovereign goes, hang on a minute. I never asked for this. So I did not put an order in for these so-called services. And if I did not put in the order and I did not sign a contract and I did not sign an invoice, how the hell can I even receive a bill? And of course you can't. In commerce, you can't receive a bill. This is why the council don't send you a bill. So I just want to touch on the word resident.
Yeah, please do.
This is where people go wrong again because they don't know the meaning behind resident. They think, oh, I live in my house. That means I'm a resident. No. The word resident, when they're using it within council tax, means the person who does not own the property, but is residing there for the purposes of conducting commerce with the legal entity, Derby City Council. That's what it means. That is why I asked to see the paperwork that set up the legal title resident, and they can't provide it. Now, if you're in court and you start saying this and the solicitor on the other side working for the council says, he might say, oh, no, you're a resident because you live in your house. You've got him. Oh, he's just made one of the most serious blunders ever just by using the word live. Because what has he just said? If he says, if the solicitor on the other side or anyone from the council should send you a letter and saying you've got to pay because you live in a house, what's he just said? He's called you a slave, hasn't he? Because he's used the word living. So you go, well, hang on a minute. How the hell can I be possibly obligated to pay anybody by just simply being alive? I thought slavery was abolished. And that's when you go after them, because I'm now suing you. My God, am I going to sue you? Because you're sending me threatening letters. You're saying because I'm alive, I've got to somehow pay this. That means I'm a slave. And by the way, if you are made a slave, you're forced to be a slave, you have the right to fight for your freedom by using any means at that point. All right, checkmate, game over. They have lost the game. So this is what you're doing in this game of commerce. This is what you people have got to be. You've got to learn this. You should be challenging the obligation and the contract on everything. That's all you should be doing at the beginning. And you get the other side to break commerce. Because as soon as they break commerce and they make a mistake by saying, because you're alive, you've got to pay council tax or something like that. Or another beautiful one. You might get a letter back from the council saying, we do not need a contract, but you've got to pay it anyway. Oh, my God. The person who just wrote that has committed a crime. That's punishable by 7 years imprisonment within the legal system. Because what have they just said? We don't need a contract, but you have to pay us anyway. And what is that? Extortion.
Extortion. Thank you. Yep.
Whoopsie. You're trying to extort me for money without a contract. And by the way, if you contact the council, don't they say customer services? Isn't the customer always right? Doesn't the customer have rights? Oh, come on, people, wake up. I'm telling you, when you learn this game, you're going to have so much fun. You'll stop laughing. Come on, bring it on, because I am going to see you in court, fella.
Wow. That is incredible, Pete. And it's like, I've been following this work for a few years, and every time I listen to you or listen to some of the other guys, I'm just like, I just realized just how much more there is to this. I mean, you could literally go on forever. But I think one of the things that you mentioned there was just how important it is to learn the language. So to actually learn, because when you said there that people are illiterate, for anyone who's feeling wounded by that, clearly what you meant was not that you can't, make out spelling, and there's another word, spelling, on a page, but actually understanding or understanding, whatever. It's not even understanding; it's knowing what specific words and terms mean. That's the illiteracy, because we can't read these documents properly. So where would people go to actually to educate themselves on the language?
Right. Well, this is why, like I say, we set up the Sovereign Project. So what we do is, you mentioned earlier that you did the 22-week course. So we do online courses, and we have multiple workshops in different countries as well now, operating in different countries, and educating people on this. So we will put you on the path. So you did the 22-week course yourself, and we went through the basics. So we went through contracts, affidavits, notices, that sort of stuff. And there's an advanced course which follows that, where we get into syntax and all this sort of stuff. So we try and educate you on language itself and what does it mean. We try and educate you on how to protect your signature and what forms mean, all this sort of stuff. So you have to educate yourself. It does take some time, by the way. If anyone out there is looking for a quick fix, there isn't one. And
absolutely,
I say that in the intro on every 22-week course. There's no quick fix. There's no silver bullet. You gotta study this.
Yeah.
So when I say illiterate, what I'm saying is the average person might be able to sort of recognize text on a piece of paper and then just make the sounds and read it. That's about all they can do. But what they can't do is they can't understand the meaning behind the words. Like I've just explained to you what husband means and wife means and resident means and registered. Understand, you used the word understand and understand. You've got to be careful of the word understand. And you got why? Well, the word stand comes from standing. And you go, okay, what does that mean? And you probably heard the term legal standing. Everyone's using that and they don't know what it means. Well, I mentioned before, legal means contract. Standing literally means a man or woman, a live man and woman standing by the contract. Legal standing. So visualize in your mind a piece of paper that someone has written a contract upon. Then a living, breathing man or woman standing by it and say, I stand by this. And that's what gives the paper merit and value, because that man has signed it and put his name on it. And if he's got a house, he'll put his house on it as well, his coat of arms. And he says, I stand by this piece of paper. Legal standing. That's what it means, legal standing. So the word standing means a living, breathing man or woman standing. Now, if you understand, you're standing under someone else. Because if the police officer says, do you understand? He's saying, I have standing, but you must be under me. Now, you can use the word understand in casual language, like we are now. And by the way, you can understand in your own dominion. There's nothing wrong with that. So you can understand in your own dominion. So if you're operating in your own dominion and you're the sovereign, which means no one has superior authority over you, and you look into the heavens and you ask big questions, and what you are trying to do is understand something that's greater than yourself. So it's the position of who you are in the hierarchy of life, if you like.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can do that. So you can understand, or try to understand the universe, if you like. So you can do that. So you can understand in my own dominion. So I will use the understand, and I will tell people, do you understand? Because I'm putting them under me, because they're below me. So it's this language. So the average person, they might be able to recognize a bit of text and then mouth the words. That's about it. They won't understand what the words mean, the origin of the words, and they'll get into a serious mess. And one of the things they won't understand is syntax, which is the arrangement in the sentence itself. So if you move the words around in a sentence, you change the meaning of the sentence. And they won't understand word forming elements. So if I said to you, court, then you go, okay, that's a court of law. So, okay, the word of means without, but this is where the language game does get very complicated, I'm afraid. Oh, by the way, when you learn this language game, you will have the ability to automatically switch between Oxford English and Black's Law, because you just get good at this. I'll give you an example. If I use the word people, well, people is chattel, you're owned. So if you're people, that means you're a group. It's a collective term, like sheeple, people, you're owned. But I might use the word people in casual conversation, but it doesn't mean I own them. So you have to make the switch. Okay. So word forming element. So court, just the word court on its own. And I could say court of law. If it's of something, it means it's not of the thing. It's of it. So it's not the thing. So it's without. This is this legalese stuff. But let's say court in law. So you think, okay, a court is where you go and you will discuss law. So there'll be a victim, for example. Now, if I put another word before the word court, I am now changing what court means. So if I say family court, I've changed the definition of the word court. I've now called it family court. And this is where the average person doesn't understand. Family court, by the way, does not deal in families. It deals in legal husband, legal wife, legal man, legal woman, legal children. It's commerce. And this is, the average person doesn't understand any of this. So they go into the court. I'll give you an example. I'll explain it. Family court. So you go into family court, which is administrative. You are now operating within a corporate jurisdiction that only uses legal titles, and you will be called the legal father or the legal mother. And you'll go in there, maybe it's a divorce. So there's a divorce going on. And by the way, a divorce is a separation of your birth certificates, because you're basically, what you're doing is you're collapsing a company, a corporation. You're breaking apart a company. That's what you're doing in divorce court. So you're separating the marriage of the original corporation. So you go in there and the judge will say, and the mother and the father fall for this every time. And now the judge will say, right, we're in here today to discuss custody of the child. And the average person will not even batter an eyelid. What has the judge just said in that statement? He used the word custody, didn't he? He's just called the legal father and the legal mother custodian. Well, what does custodian mean? It means you don't own the thing. You are just custodian of it for a short period. Now, if you don't put your hand up in that courtroom and say, whoa, hang on a minute, Your Honour, we're not talking about custody. I'm the natural living father of that boy or girl, and I will always be the father of that boy or girl. No custody going on. Because the average person doesn't know that. They'll nod, yeah, fighting over custody. Well, what you're actually doing is you're fighting over a document that is titled child. That's what you're doing. And what you're doing is you're negotiating who has custody of a document titled child. The average person doesn't even spot that. And how many people, millions of people now, have had their kids taken away because they don't know what the meaning of the word custody means. Checkmate. They've lost. They've lost again. You've got to learn the language, people.
Yeah, 100%. Oh God, I mean, there's so much we could cover here, people. One of the things I do want to cover before we think about closing up is what's going on with these central bank digital currencies, and what does that mean in terms of being a sovereign?
Oh, yes. Right. Okay. Very complicated question. And I'll try and slim down the answer for you. Before I can give you an answer to a central bank digital currency, people need to understand what is actually going on. Now, I have a few notes here. There we are. There's a euro, €5. And I have a £20 note. Now, you've got to understand what's going on. Let's say you operate in a country called the United Kingdom. So try and think of the United Kingdom as a casino. This is a poker chip. It's worthless. It's got no value whatsoever. It's a piece of plastic and it's barely worth I think it costs about 3 pence to make these, if that. So it has no value. This is referred to as a promissory note, so a promise to pay. Now, we haven't got time to go into bills of exchange and all the rest of it, but we've got a new course coming that goes into all of this. But this is a promise to pay. Now, this is not yours, and it never will be, because there's a name on it. Bank of England. So they're telling you they own it. This is the Bank of England's promissory note, not yours. Even if you work for this, it ain't yours. All right. So if you do a 45-hour shift in a week and you get an envelope with a load of these in it, they're not yours. It's just owned by the Bank of England. You have the use of it. They will allow you to use these with a fee. And what's that fee? Tax. Got to pay tax. You're using the Bank of England's promissory note. And it gets worse. So let's say you've got these notes and you go, okay, I'm now going to deposit it into my bank account. Well, what have you just done? The banks are telling you, they say, would you like to deposit your money? What does deposit mean? It means to depose, to give away. So the fact that when you've got this note in your hand, you have the right to use it. You become the bearer of the note. Okay, it's not yours, but you become the bearer of the note. If you put this into a bank account, you've completely given it away. You've deposited it. So you've given it to the bank. That bank account is not yours in any way, shape, or form. In fact, if you have an account of anything, it's not yours. It's theirs. They grant you an account. What does grant mean? Well, to be granted something means there's someone with a higher authority than you that are giving you permission to use the thing. You've been granted permission.
Mental.
No, this is insane, isn't it? Blows your mind. So if you've got an account with a bank, it's not yours. You've deposited this, so you've even given that away. They've got it on a computer screen now, and they can do whatever they want to it. Now, there is a silver lining to this, because if you start digging, and you go, okay, then, well, you've got the Bank of England. The Bank of England is a privately owned business. Got nothing to do with England, by the way, because like we mentioned before, it says Bank of England. So it says Bank of England. It's got nothing to do with England. It's a private bank, and all central banks are privately owned. All banks are. But you've got to ask yourself, if you start learning, this is what I started learning. This is when I started digging, because I learned about, must be 20 years ago now. I learned about the national debt. And I was going, what does that, who does the national debt? What does that mean? Who's it owed to? So I started digging. So the way this is backed, this is a promissory note. So it has to be backed by something. It's got to be backed by something credible. That's where the word credit comes from. Are you credible to pay back the credit? Credible. It's all in the language. Now, I won't go into too much detail, and you probably already know where I'm going with this, with the birth certificate. Our birth certificate, because you were registered at birth, is basically, in layman's terms, a securitized instrument. And it is that birth certificate that's attached to a foreign situs trust that's worth somewhere around $100 million. And you have become the creditor of this note. So you are the creditor of the note. Now, I mean, the more you learn, this system, you've got to laugh. You've got to laugh what these globalists have done to you. You've got to laugh about it, otherwise you're going insane.
It's literally a lunatic asylum.
It really is. It really is. Everyone's insane, apart from me and maybe you. I'm living on planet insane because I'm looking at everybody.
Yeah.
But you're the creditor of this note. Okay, so you're the creditor. So it's backed by your credit. They get you to work for it. So you're working for your own credit. It's my £20 note because I back it, although it's not mine because the Bank of England has taken, I'm the backer of it, the creditor. All right, I'm the creditor. So I'm the creditor of it, although I don't own the note because it's got the Bank of England on it, but I'm the creditor. But the Bank of England makes me work for this, although I'm the creditor. And not only do they make me work for these, but they make me pay tax on it as well at the same time. And you're working for your own credit and you're paying tax on your own credit. That is what usury is, by the way. There's people out saying, oh, usury is paying high interest on loans. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Usury is working for your own credit, which is what the banks have got you doing. Now, all of this is digitized now. We all know. We know about the Swiss system. We all know it's all digits on a screen now. It's all fictitious. It doesn't exist. There's nothing backing this. There's no silver. This is still called pound sterling, which is supposed to be backed by sterling silver, but that's long gone. So central bank digital currencies, all they're doing is they're going to put more conditions on this piece of plastic, except you won't have even access to the piece of plastic anymore. So, okay, you've got to learn in commerce. You probably heard the term holder in due course. If you are holder in due course, it means that you are holder of the document and you have got control over the document until you pass it on. So with this, you do have a little bit of say. Because I am the holder in due course. I am the holder of it, and I can decide where it goes next. The banks hate that because the banks go, they want full control over you. And while you're the holder in due course, you've still got some say of where this goes, and you can stash it under your mattress. So they want to remove that, the holder in due course. So what they want to do is make sure that you just deposit everything into the bank account. And like I said before, that means you own nothing at all at that point. You're not the holder in due course. You've got no say at all, zero. And it's all become digital. And now they're going to put a whole load of restrictions on it. And they can only put restrictions on it if you accept the title British citizen. So let's talk about banning. I know we're just going off at a tangent, but you've got to understand how banning works. You can't ban a sovereign from anything. You've got no right to do that. But if the sovereign gives up his sovereignty, takes on a legal title, operates in a corporate jurisdiction, now you can be banned because you're operating in a corporate jurisdiction. So that's how banning works. So let's say, for example, if you wanted to partake in a certain plant for medicinal purposes, we'll say no more than that, and you wanted to puff away on that, puff, puff, pass. You wanted to do that with your friends. As a sovereign, you can do what the hell you want. No issues. And the police can't touch you. You better leave me alone. You can't sniff my car, fella, because the police sniff your car and they go, have you been smoking weed? Now, the sovereign will turn and go, how dare you sniff my car? Did I give you authority to do that? Now, the slave will go, oh, no, we're going to get done. Yeah, because you're a British citizen. And you're a British citizen. You've taken on the legal title. You're now operating in the corporation of the United Kingdom. And in there's legislation, which is corporate policy, saying you're not allowed to partake in that particular pastime. So that's how you get banned. So if you're going to operate in the central bank digital currency, the bank account that you will use will not be in your name. It will be in your surname. That's a surety name. That's what surname means. Surety name means you're the debtor. So it's not in your name in any way, shape, or form. You've got no say whatsoever because you're not even the holder in due course anymore. So you've got zero rights, but you've still accepted the bank account. You still signed up to the bank account. You still filled in the form. So you're still the informant. So you're still contracted. But now you've accepted all those conditions. So now the government can say, well, you'll earn your digital currency, but you've got 1 month to spend it. And if you haven't spent it, we're going to take it back. Or we're going to say, look, you got your wages, or you might be one of those universal basic incomes, which everyone thinks, oh, that's a good idea. No, it isn't. That's total slavery. So you've got universal basic income or state pension, and there'll be conditions. And it'll be like, okay, you're not allowed to eat meat, and you've got to eat cricket burgers, and you've got to make sure you take your vaccine every 2 weeks, and you've got to do all this. Otherwise, we're just going to empty your bank account. And because it's not your bank account, there's nothing you can do. Yeah. Now, here's the thing, people. Do you have to use these? No. Why are you using them? You should be using this. So the sovereign doesn't deal in this. We don't deal in this. We deal in this. Gold and silver, thank you very much. You can't touch this. It's mine. So you operate in gold and silver, and you can operate in crypto. So what's happening, this is part of the sovereign project as well, is a lot of the members are moving away from the fiat stuff. We said, we don't want fiat currency. We don't want central bank digital currency. Thank you very much. We're walking away now. So what we are doing is we're using true money. We're going to use gold, silver. We're going to use some crypto if I'm going to be trading overseas. And I don't need the bank's money. And if people also realize that the tax is contractual and then they decline the contract, then what do you think happens to this?
Yeah.
Evaporates, doesn't it? Because if no one's paying the tax on these notes, what happens to this? It evaporates. It goes into hyperinflation, doesn't it? Because remember how these work. The central bank will create bonds and sell the bonds. So if someone out there is holding the bond, let's say that's the bond. I've just made the bond and I've just sold it to China, right? And I'm the Bank of England. So Bank of England's made the bond and it sells it to China. Now the Bank of England says to China, the British taxpayer, legal title, will pay the interest on that bond for you. So China goes, yeah, okay, we'll buy that bond from you. But what happens if the British taxpayer decided not to be a British taxpayer anymore? Because it says, where's the contract? And then says, oh, by the way, tax is contractual. And because I can't find the contract, I don't have to pay anymore. What do you think happens to the bond? China won't want it. They'll, whoa, bloody hell, get rid of these bonds. They're worthless. So what do you think is going to happen to this? It's going to become worthless. What do you think is going to happen to this? It's going to be worth a lot of money. This will buy your house.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of people are fearing central bank digital currency. But when you learn how it works, don't use it. And when enough of us don't use it, and we've got our own internal economy, none of us are going to use it. We won't be dealing in VAT either. I mean, VAT is an offer. And by the way, VAT is the price of membership of being in the EU. And I go, I thought we got Brexit. So why are we still paying VAT? Do you see how people have been dumbed down that much? They don't question anything. So yeah, VAT goes in the bin. And if you deregister your business, you don't have to pay tax anymore because the contract is broken. If you deregister your car, there's no more road tax because you're not operating in the jurisdiction of the UK roads and you're not operating in the highway. Oh, if we've got time, I'll just touch on highway.
Yeah. We will. We could go on for hours and hours and hours and hours. But let's close up on that, and then we'll point people to where they can go for further information. Because the breadth of information you have is just phenomenal. That people really do need to know about.
Thanks. Yeah, and people watching this, go and check it out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. All I've done is I did research and I'm just telling you what I found. But we'll close on highway. This is how it works. This is how road tax works. This is how speed limits work. This is how parking tickets work. The roads, the physical roads, the tarmac, they belong to us, all of us individually. In other words, a better way of saying it is no one individual man or woman can claim the roads. You can't do that. Let's say, for example, if someone we'll give him a name, Billy Bob. If Billy Bob was going to claim the road outside my house, I would have a problem with that because that would landlock me. Because how do I then get to the next town if Billy Bob has claimed the road? Because then he can say, I can't use his land. This is referred to as the commons. Okay, so what that means is all roads are free to use by everybody and no one has the right to claim the roads because that would be a violation of our individual right to travel. So if I could claim all the roads, I can then tell all of you, you can't travel and you just got to stay in your house. And what are you going to do? So no one can claim the roads. Now, the UK corporation doesn't actually claim the roads because they know they can't. So instead, what they do is they create a jurisdiction. It's called the highway. And you go, okay, then what does highway mean? Well, it's not a road. The road is the physical land that you are traveling upon. That's what a road is. A highway, it's in the language, the way is referring to a way of traveling. You are on a way. The high is referring to a higher jurisdiction, highway. And you go, okay, well, what was the original highway? Well, that would be the king's highway, wouldn't it? So the king placed a jurisdiction on the roads. He couldn't claim the roads, but he put a jurisdiction on it, called it the king's highways. And what he said to all the peasants, he says, I will protect you. They always do it over safety. They always do that. They say, oh, it's for your protection. And the king said, as long as you are subject to my kingdom, there's another word, subject to my kingdom, you are protected under my highways. So if you are robbed on the highway, I will send my guards to go and get the highwayman or the highway robber. Now, if you took on that contract and say, yeah, I'll be subject to the king, then you can use his highways. And then if the highway robber, got his musket out when he was in your horse and cart and robbed you, you could go to the king and say, right, go after him with your soldiers. And the king go, yeah, no problem, I'll go and get him. Now, the modern day version is called DVLA. And they tell you this. Have a look on their highway code. On their book, it says highway code. Oh, so we're talking highway then. We're not talking road then. So what's happening is when you register your car, you give it away, it's operating in a trust, it is now owned, or the controlling interest and the equitable title of that car is now in the possession of the UK corporation. You get a certificate of conformity, which means that your private car now is a vehicle because it conforms. So it conforms, it's become a vehicle. Vehicle means it's operating in commerce. Now, because it's owned by the government now own it, they put a license plate on it. And it's just, people are dumb. They're driving around right now with license plates on the front and the back of their car, and they don't know what license means. Yeah, that's the government's number. The government's just put their stamp on your private car, and they say that's ours now. And now, because it belongs to the government and you are operating in their highway, you've got to follow the highway code. And in that highway code will be yellow parking lines, so the double yellows, and it'll be speed limits. It's a state speed limit. And by the way, the politicians tell you this. They tell you this to your face. They say it's a state speed limit. Yeah, corporate. It's a corporate one. And now you need a license. You've got to have a license to drive government property. And they tell you this in the language. It's in your face. They are screaming in your face. And the average person is going, oh, I don't know about these 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. And you, Les? Yeah, you contracted by giving the car away. So they tell you. So that's what highway means. If you're operating in a highway, you are operating in a higher jurisdiction, and you have to abide by the policies in that jurisdiction. And that is the speed limits, that's the parking tickets, and that's all the rest of the nonsense that's happening today. That's how they do it. So, yeah, learn the system, everybody.
Yeah, it's
Hello, buddy. Do you just breaking up a little bit? Oh, there you go. I think, yeah, you just froze.
Yeah, I'm back. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're back.
Okay, yeah. They even tell you directly, because in the UK there is a piece of paper that is the registration certificate, and it says on there, you are not necessarily the owner of this vehicle, just the legal keeper.
Exactly right. They can't dumb it down any more than that, and people still fall for it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I actually heard recently a lady actually then put DVLA as the registered keeper on the documents, so all the speeding fines and tickets were going to DVLA. But I don't know what came of that. But I did find it really amusing. Anyway. Again, we could talk for hours, because again, the breadth and the quality of the information you have and the research you've done is phenomenal. But what's really wonderful is I've seen it myself, is just how the Sovereign Project is spreading as more and more sovereigns are beginning to understand this information. So before we wrap up, and I'll get you just to share where people can find you, there's 3 questions I love to ask every guest. So the first one is, imagine you've just jumped in a time machine, you've gone back many years now probably, And you open the doors and there's 12-year-old Pete stood in front of you. What one piece of advice would you give that little kid, and why?
Oh, one piece. Well, that's tricky. I'll probably say invest in gold. Because I would be a multi-millionaire if I did that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll probably say that. Or I'll probably say, research words. Get on the internet as soon as possible.
Yeah, brilliant. And then the next one is, what's the number one thing wrong in the world right now, and what would you do to solve it?
Right. The number one thing in the world, I would say, is people's irresponsibility. Because the average person is lazy and irresponsible, and they allow all the misery to go on today. The reason why we have all the pedophile rings, the grooming gangs, all the wars that's going on. Take a look at what's going on in the Middle East, the third world. Look at the poverty. Billions of people in poverty with no electricity, any of this.
Yeah.
And no one seems to be standing their ground and saying, "I've had enough of this." So I think it's people do not want to be responsible for themselves. That's the problem. In fact, this is I'm not religious per se, but this is actually spoken in the Bible. So it's like you've got to be responsible for yourself. And if you become responsible for yourself and if you make a mistake, own it and be honorable. If you say you're going to do the thing. Don't lie. Don't let people down. So that's the most worst thing. I mean, people are voting, and I'm going, "What are you doing voting?" I mean, a man doesn't vote. No, because I make my own decisions. Why am I going to vote for a political party that can tell me what to do? Again, that's a soy boy. Soy boys do that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's that. It's people being irresponsible. That's the worst thing. If you had a nation full of men who had control of their house, you'd have peace on this planet. All women and children would be safe. You would have none of it. There'd be no wars. Do you think a paedophile would last 30 seconds if there was actually men operating on the land referred to as the UK? Wouldn't last 30 seconds, would it?
Absolutely. And that's such a good response to that question. And finally, what are you most excited about right now?
Oh, exciting. What am I most excited about? That's a tricky one. Not so much excited. What keeps me going? Because obviously, when I set up the Sovereign Project, I knew that I'd be a target, and I've already been targeted. So and I'm still targeted now. And I go, whatever. But what keeps me going is when I meet individuals such as yourself, and you've said that you've done the course, you've learned the stuff that I was talking about, and it's changed your life and it's woken you up. I've had people literally with tears in their eyes, shaking my hand. They've met me and they're shaking my hand going, "You have woken me up. I got rid of these bailiffs. I did this." And when I see people standing up for the first time and fighting and not being a slave anymore, that's probably what I get excited about. When I see that and I go, that keeps me going. And I go, okay. Because one thing I said, don't follow me. I don't want followers. Because if you're a follower, then you're a sheep. And I don't want sheep. I want people by my side that I can look in the eye, shake their hands as a man or a woman. And that is that, because I know too many sniveling wretches. They're just pathetic, and I go, oh God. And I'd wanted to meet real sovereign men and women. So that's what keeps me going. When I meet a true sovereign and I can tell, that's what keeps me going. That's what I'm excited about is people waking up to that.
I love that. It's such a beautiful response. So thank you. So Pete, it's been absolutely wonderful. Finally, where can people find you, find out more about the Sovereign Project, and most importantly, how can they take action and start becoming so themselves?
Yes, absolutely. So we have a website, which is thesovereignproject.live.
Yeah, and I'll put all that in the show notes as well. So yeah.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, so everyone can click on that. There's a whole load of information on there that you can download for free and start reading this stuff. There is a whole load of resources on there. So we've got online courses, as we've mentioned. We've got books you can have. We've even got T-shirts if you want a T-shirt. There's a whole load of resources on there. We've got some gold specialists on there. We've got trust specialists on there. We've got a notary public. And just have a look. There's a drop-down menu. So if you're looking for somebody, I think we've even got a private investigator on there as well. If you want to look, so if you want to find people who work at the council tax department, find them and then serve notice on them. So that's something that you can have fun with.
Interesting.
So, yeah, that's what you got to do. Is start serving notice on these people who work for the council and say, look, you do know you're actually breaking the law and using fake summons and fake paperwork, and you're going to be, 7 years imprisonment. So that's where you get us, is the sovereignproject.live. You'll also see there's a button on there that will take you to the Sovereign Wiki. Now, the Sovereign Wiki is a Wikipedia. It's free, and there's a whole load of remedies on there. So if you want to know more, speeding tickets, parking tickets, a whole load of remedies on there. It's all there, free download to help you out. You'll also find our links to all our social media. So we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. So you can talk with other people. So you're not alone. So you can join one of those social media groups and start sharing ideas. You can look up the local workshops, chess clubs, and loan nights, and you can actually meet people in person. So you're not alone. We've got thousands of members now. I mean, unbelievable. I've got a good team behind me that do a lot of work. So Carl is out there. He's actually doing events now. He's speaking in front of audiences. So he's out there. He's waking people up as well. So it's not just me now. The Sovereign Project is huge, and I've got a large team helping me do this sort of stuff. And we've got an app coming as well.
Oh, brilliant. It is wonderful to see just how much it's grown recently.
Cool. So I think we just
and you're still tuned in.
Yes. You just froze up there, buddy.
Oh, did I? Okay. Hopefully you can hear me now.
Yep, you've come back.
Yep, brilliant. So to everybody who's still tuned in, thanks ever so much for watching. As always, please like, comment, and share this episode, because it's really important that the Sovereign Project work and what Pete has created, and now everybody else, as he's just mentioned, part of the team are doing, gets out to people who are ready to get out of the slave system and become sovereign. And having done some of the work myself, I highly recommend it. I've certainly created some, albeit lower level remedies for myself that have worked really well. So thanks again for tuning in. And of course, Pete, thanks ever so much for coming on Superliminal. It's been a real honor to have you here, and the information's been spectacular. Thanks again.
Cheers. Thanks, Tim.